Know what the myth of endless hustle is? If you have spent any time in the entrepreneurial echo chamber, you have heard it. Outwork everyone. Sleep when you're dead. Hustle 24/7. It's the unofficial anthem of startup culture. And the first habit that quietly guarantees you're going to burn out. The truth is that founders who last, they are not the ones who keep sprinting. They are the ones who know when to pace themselves. But that is not the message that you are going to hear on social media, where every other post is glamorizing the all-nighters, the 4 a.m. grind, the I haven't taken a day off in 5 years badge of honor. It sounds heroic. It's actually a slow motion collapse. And here's why the endless hustle habit is so dangerous. It teaches your nervous system that constant urgency is normal. You stop noticing the signs of strain, the shortened patience, the creeping cynicism, the feeling that even your wins don't land anymore. You normalize exhaustion, and exhaustion becomes the operating system for your life and for your business. Founders often mistake this for dedication. In reality, it's erosion. Your creativity, your ability to make clear decisions, and your emotional resilience, all of them, they get ground down. You might still be showing up, but the quality of what you are bringing drops. And the cruel twist is that the more depleted you are, the more hours you feel that you need to work to keep up. It's a vicious loop. The fix starts with replacing hours-based self-worth with results-based metrics. And if you've been measuring your value by how many hours that you work today, you got to stop that. Ask yourself this: what moved the needle? What created lasting leverage? And yeah, that means you might actually need to say no to a few things that you've been conditioned to see as mandatory. The late night email blitz, the back-to-back-to-back-to-back Zooms, the constant inbox triage. Founders who build their empires to last treat rest and reflection and recovery as non-negotiables, not rewards they're going to earn someday. Because here's the truth, guys. The point of the business isn't to run you into the ground. The point is to give you a little bit of a life worth fully being awake for. Let's take a look at habit number 2, one that hides in plain sight and is even harder to quit than overwork. This is chasing every opportunity. If endless hustle is the fuel that burns you out, chasing every opportunity is the steering problem that drives you off the road. This is the second founder habit that almost guarantees burnout, and it is deceptively easy to justify. On paper, it looks like ambition, saying yes to every single collaboration, every client request, every partnership pitch, every quick coffee chat that might lead to something. You tell yourself, all right, this is how you grow. You never know which one is actually going to be the big break, right? But this is the reality. Every single yes is a withdrawal from your mental, emotional, and strategic bandwidth. The more scattered your focus, the more diluted your results are going to be. And the worst part is that the opportunities you should be doubling down on, they get the same amount of attention as the ones that barely move the needle. So the reason founders get stuck here is pretty easy. It's FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. You think, if I don't say yes, what happens? The deal's gonna, it's gonna blow up on me. But the paradox is that the opportunities that you turn down, they're not gonna kill your business, okay? They're only going to help. So you can get that real leverage by not going all in. Every single yes is gonna carry hidden costs. Execution costs, the time it takes to deliver on the promise that you just made, right? There's a cognitive cost, the mental load of tracking another moving piece. There's an opportunity cost, the better things that you're now not doing because your bandwidth is tied up, right? High performance, Founders develop what I call the selective gatekeeper habit, right? They run every opportunity through a very simple filter. Does this align with my core strategy? Does it create compounding results? Would I still want to do this if the money or the recognition wasn't guaranteed? If the answer is no, it's out. All right? Focus does not just protect your time. It protects your energy, your sanity, and the depth of your impact. So in business, just like in life, you win by going deeper, not necessarily wider. So now it's time to unpack the third habit, a silent killer of founder momentum that disguises itself as being informed. Let's talk about consuming more than you create. This is the third habit. It's sneaky because it doesn't really feel unproductive. In fact, it often feels like work. Reading every newsletter, listening to every podcast, buying every single new course, scrolling through other people's content on LinkedIn, all in the name of staying informed or researching, right? But here's the problem with that. The mental bandwidth that you spend on constant consumption, it does not automatically translate into action or business. And over time, it's going to rewire your brain into passive mode. You become more comfortable learning about growth than actually doing the work that causes growth. So founders fall into this habit because it feels safe. Reading about a tactic it's risk-free. Implementing it, that's going to expose you to potential failure. So the brain takes the easy way out. It keeps gathering information until you feel ready. The trouble, that feeling never comes. All right? Your business does not grow from what you know. It grows from what you execute. So that means that the real skill isn't just knowing what to do, it is building the discipline to do it before you feel 100% confident. When you overconsume, you also fall victim to opinion overload. You read conflicting advice from 5 different experts, and then you end up paralyzed, second-guessing your decisions, delaying action, and changing strategies midstream. That instability is going to bleed into your team, your clients, and your revenue. The fix is pretty straightforward. Adopt the creator first rule. Start every workday with output, not input. Before you check a single email, read a single post, or listen to a single update, you have created something that moves your business forward. A piece of content, a client proposal, a sales follow-up, a system improvement, right? This is the ratio that I would recommend. For every hour that you consume, you create at least 3. That keeps your energy pointed outward in momentum, okay? Instead of endlessly spiraling inward. Because the fact is, the most successful founders, they are not the most informed. They are the most consistent at implementing. So now we're going to hit a habit that wears the mask of productivity, but it's actually a massive profit leak. This is one that quietly traps founders in low leverage work for years on end. Okay? This is living in the inbox. For many founders, the day begins and ends in the inbox. It's a comforting loop. You check the email, you respond, forward, follow up, you check it again. It feels productive because things are moving. Conversations are happening, and you're on top of it. But if you spend more than an hour a day in your inbox, you are likely not running your business. Your inbox is. And worse off, it's conditioning you to operate in reaction mode instead of creation mode. So you're letting other people's priorities dictate your time, your attention, and your energy. Email is deceptive because it gives the illusion of progress. You clear a thread, and then there's this dopamine hit, this tiny victory. But the real cost is opportunity loss. While you're busy answering a low-value request or clarifying a very small detail, you're not really building systems or closing high-ticket deals We're creating assets that bring in long-term revenue. Most founders, they tell themselves that they have to check constantly, that a client might actually need something urgent, or a deal could be on the line. But 95% of that time, it's noise disguised as urgency. And the more available that you make yourself, the more people treat you as the bottleneck. The fix is not just to check email less. It's to design your communication process so that email becomes a low-frequency task. So that means setting fixed times to check, right? Maybe 11 a.m. or 4 p.m. Training your team and your clients on exactly how to escalate true urgencies through faster channels, using filters, folders, and automation to triage non-essential messages without touching them. So by shifting your default from always available to strategically available, you're going to reclaim hours every single week. Hours that can be reinvested into high leverage work that actually grows the business. Now, let's take a look at the habit that masquerades as ambition, but is actually guaranteeing burnout. And it's one that most high achievers glorify without even realizing the damage. This is the overcommitment trap. Founders are masters at saying yes. Yes to opportunities, yes to collaborations, yes to ideas that might spark a little bit of excitement. And on paper, this looks like ambition, but in reality, it's often a very slow march towards burnout. Every commitment that you make pulls from the same finite pool of time, energy, and decision-making capacity. And unlike money, you can't make more of those resources once they are spent. Yet many founders operate as if they can just push harder or find a way to just squeeze in one more project. But the real danger here, overcommitment, it doesn't just create time pressure, it destroys focus. When you are juggling 12 half-finished initiatives, you are never able to go deep enough to make any one of them world-class. So instead, you live in this constant state of context switching, which drains your energy faster than any single task ever could. The root cause is usually a fear of missing out. We are scared that if we say no, the opportunity won't come. Or we convince ourselves that successful people do more, when in truth, the most successful founders are the people who are ruthless about doing less. So the fix is that you need to implement a commitment filter. So before you say yes to anything, ask yourself, does this align with my top 1 to 2 business priorities for the next quarter or so? Will this generate meaningful ROI in the next 6 to 12 months? What will I have to stop doing in order to take this on? If you cannot answer those questions with clarity and with confidence, it's a no, or at least a not now, right? Now it's time to break down one of the most subtle burnout habits of all, a mindset flaw that convinces founders to keep grinding even after they already won. Here's what it's called, the just one more mindset. For many founders, the most dangerous habit is not poor sleep or bad delegation or overcommitment. It is the inability to stop. This just one more mindset whispers in your ear after a big win. Just one more client before I take a break. Just one more product launch before I slow down. Just one more zero in that bank account before I actually do feel safe. On the surface, it feels like drive, but underneath, it's fear in disguise. Fear that if you stop moving, the momentum is going to vanish. The opportunities are going to dry up, and you'll slip backwards. The problem is that this mindset, it doesn't have a finish line. There's always another milestone to chase, and the satisfaction from hitting it lasts about as long as a cup of coffee. So soon you are back in the grind, pushing for just one more, again. This habit is so insidious because it's easy to justify. After all, you're building something meaningful, right? You're providing for your family, you're creating jobs. But over time, it conditions you to ignore your own limits. You delay rest. You postpone celebrations. You put life on hold, sometimes for years, waiting for this mythical enough that never arrives. The fix is not to stop aiming high. It's to define your enough right now. Decide in advance what success looks like for you in terms of income, freedom, and daily experience. And then commit to honoring it when you reach it. That does not mean that you never grow again. It means that growth becomes a choice, not a compulsion. Okay? Now it's time to explore the final burnout habit, the one that hides behind all the others, chasing other people's definition of success instead of your own. This is where many founders lose themselves entirely. Okay? This is all about living by someone else's scorecard. Don't do it. If I had to pick the single most destructive habit for founders, it would be this: building your life and your business to win someone else's game. You see it all over the place. A founder earns a healthy income, has time for family, and they love their work. But suddenly, they feel inadequate because someone in their network just raised $20 million, bought a beach house, or they got featured in a magazine. So without realizing it, they start chasing a completely different set of goals. And it's not because they want them. It's because they feel that they should. So the danger here is that external scorecards are infinite. There is always someone richer, more famous, or seemingly more successful to measure yourself against. And in today's algorithm-fed world, you are shown a curated highlight reel of these people every single day. It's comparison on steroids. When you build your business according to someone else's definition of what success is, you start making decisions that don't really fit your own values or your lifestyle. So you hire a bigger team than you actually need. You pursue markets that you don't really care about. You take on stress that doesn't really serve you, all just to keep up with a game that you didn't even want to play in the first place. The antidote to all of this is radical clarity. Get brutally honest about what matters to you. Independent of the noise, you got to ask yourself, if no one ever knew what I achieved, would I still want it? Would I still be proud of this business if it never made the news? Does this path expand my freedom, or does it shrink it? When your scorecard is internal, you stop reacting to every single shiny headline and you start building something sustainable, something that you can actually enjoy for decades. Now, let's bring this all home, okay? This is how to spot these 7 burnout habits early, replace them with sustainable alternatives, and to create a founder's operating system that keeps you in the game for life. So here's breaking the burnout cycle for good. You guys now know the 7 founder habits that practically guarantee burnout. But this is the thing, okay? Awareness isn't enough. You can understand the problem and still slide right back into it. That's why the real work is building a system that makes burnout the harder option, not the default. The first step is pattern recognition. Burnout doesn't just show up as this sudden collapse. It starts as small signals that you ignore. Maybe you skip workouts for a week because you're too busy. Maybe you start eating at your desk again. Your to-do list becomes this dumping ground for everyone else's priorities. If you learn to catch these signals early, you can course correct before you actually spiral. The second step is deliberate replacement. Don't just remove a burnout habit, replace it with a sustainable one that actually serves the same function but without draining you. If you are addicted to endless hustle, channel that energy. Channel it into focused deep work that's, with sprints followed by deliberate recovery. If you can't stop chasing every single shiny idea, build a parking lot where new ideas live until they earn a place in your plan. Third, you need guardrails, clear, non-negotiable boundaries that keep you aligned. This could mean a hard stop at 5 p.m., a no work weekend, or quarterly off-grid resets. Guardrails work because they turn your well-being into a system, not a willpower test. Finally, anchor your business in your personal definition of success. This is the filter for every decision that you make. When an opportunity shows up, ask yourself, does this expand my freedom? Or does it cost me more of it? If the answer is the latter, no amount of money or prestige is worth it. Burnout is not a badge of honor. It is a symptom of misalignment. Once you actually design your operating system around clarity and recovery and focus, you stop reacting to the game that others are playing, and you start building your own. That is how you create a business and a life that you can sustain indefinitely. Hope you guys got a lot out of this video. I do have a newsletter if you want to check into that. It's at natberman.com. Also, I have a community. If you want to join that, you can check out joinbrandbuilt.com. And as usual, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, I suggest you do so, and I'll see you in the next video.